Tonight's We the People Fact Finder Reports looks at an ad that doesn't completely pass the smell test.
Dottie LeClaire of Sun Prairie asked, Scott Walker is accusing Tom Barrett of dumping sewage into Lake Michigan and not keeping a campaign promise. Can you explain? News 3 political reporter Jessica Arp does in tonight's reality check.
Is the campaign in the gutter or are the issues in the sewer as Scott Walker attacks Tom Barrett?
When Tom Barrett campaigned for mayor of Milwaukee 6 years ago, he promised to stop the sewage district from dumping raw sewage into Lake Michigan. He never kept that campaign promise.
This part is true. Barrett did, in fact, campaign on this issue in 2004, saying he'd set a goal to stop sewage dumping on a regular basis. But it hasn't stopped.
In fact, Tom Barrett allowed 8.2 billion gallons of sewage to be released into the lake, nearly 40 times more pollution than the BP oil spill.
This is misleading. Walker is literally comparing oil and water, two very different kinds of pollution. And he's only citing volume. It's estimated about 205 million gallons of oil spilled into the Gulf. Multiply by 40 and you'll get 8.2 billion. But actually, the Walker campaign underestimated the amount of overflows. According to the Sewage District, it's more like 10.3 billion.
But by no means do oil and sewage have the same effects on water quality. According to Great Lakes water researcher Sandra McClellan, sewage is a huge concern in the lakes, but it has a short-term impact. Oil is toxic and can affect the environment for years.
But you should also understand why sewage is let into the lakes in the first place.
During big storms, rainwater and untreated sewage will back up into basements if water isn't let out of the city sewers. This summer was a prime example. 5 to 8 inches of rain fell in a day around Milwaukee. Just that rainfall exceeded the capacity of the sewers by just more than 2 billion gallons. The Sewage District has added more than 100 million gallons in capacity since 2006, but to create enough capacity to hold the rains from this summer would cost more than $6 billion. Plus, they have drastically decreased the number of overflows from 50 or 60 a year in the 90s to an average of 2.5 times a year.
Tom Barrett broke his promise. Well, I say it's time to flush out the truth.
So was it realistic for Barrett to say he could stop the overflows from happening? While that's always the goal, probably not, unless he can stop it from raining. I'm Jessica Arp with this News 3 Reality Check.
And we should also note that while the mayor of Milwaukee appoints 7 people to the Sewage District Board, he does not directly authorize overflows. The executive director does. And by the way, for those who asked us if the voice in that ad is Morgan Freeman, certainly sounds like him, but it is not.